welcome to a messy layout. Who loves a good messy mixed media layout? I know I do. I love them. And this one is no exception. I am going to town. I'm trying to use up the last of my clear gesso out of my tube because it just seems to be going forever. So I'm trying to use that up at the moment. And I decided to go to town with it and it was all good. Now I am creating a layout using a photo of Angela when she was about 2. And she is dead set. She is a firecracker, this kid. Legit. She is awesome. She absolutely cracks us up. And that cheeky little grin, I tell you what, that kid could get away with murder. She is so good. Not really, obviously, but yeah. Tongue in cheek, guys. So I am going to town here and I'm adding some Distress Oxide sprays through some stencils. Now, these stencils are new to me. This one is, let me see. This one is, it's a Dylusions stencil and it's called Martha's Most Massive Matte Stencil. And then this one that I'm spraying through here is the coins stencil, large coin stencil. I am using all warm colors. I'm using Fossilized Amber, Crackling Campfire, Wild Honey, Vintage Photo, Rusty Hinge, all the distress, all the real warm yellows and oranges in the distress line. Now, watch this. You think I'm wrecking it, right? Stick with me. You guys have to watch how this comes together in the end. It looks really cool. This is what I say when I say to you guys, just play. You think that you're going to destroy it. You think it's going to be wrecked. Like, what did you just do around the edges? It was looking really good in the middle. What were you thinking? I did this specifically today because I had a lot of time up my sleeve. And I wanted to show you what I mean by just take a couple more steps. Just, if you don't have all the things, just a few more steps and trust me, it comes together. This is what I did here. So I put the stencils down and I wanted to show you, obviously you can layer up stencils. That's super easy. That's not difficult. And then I just sort of went around the outside edge with some Crackling Campfire and I thought, okay, it's nice and messy. It's not neat and tidy. You can create borders even if you don't have washi tape, even if you don't have, you know, all the cutting tools. You could literally do this with paint. You could do this with watercolor. You could do this with any of your inks. As long as they're water soluble, you could do it like this. Otherwise, if they're not water soluble, you could use a stamp and you could go down that path. Now, this stamp that I'm using here is from Temu, hence the T on it. I don't know what it's called. I think it's like bubbles or something. I don't know, soap bubbles or something like that. I bought it a few months ago. I don't even know if it's still available. Now, I used there through the center, I used aged mahogany. This one, I'm using a bit of black soot and I'm just trying to grunge it up is what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now, you have to remember that this has been gessoed. So technically, I can lift off this stuff because it's all water soluble. You can't wreck it at this point because it's just all water soluble. Add another layer to it. Add some tissue paper to it. Go to town. Trust me on it. Stick with me. It all works. Now I pulled out Lumberjack Plaid. Now this is taking me in a little bit more of a red zone, more of a cool red rather than a warm red. And Lumberjack Plaid, I have to say, Lumberjack Plaid, Peacock Feathers and Uncharted Mariner would have to be my 3 all-time favorite colors. And yet they're not normally the colors that I use on my layouts. Isn't that bizarre? So I went to town with this. Now I've pulled out these stamps that I'm using here. I'm just using some Distress Oxide. So these are, for those that are new to it, Distress oxides are a combination ink of both dye and pigment ink. So they stay wetter for longer. They're also water reactive. So when you have a pigment ink, if you're using a dye ink, it soaks into the paper. If you're using a pigment ink, it stays on top of the paper rather than soaking in, which generally gives you a clearer, crisper look, but it also stays wet. So if you want to then put some embossing powder over the top, you can do that. It does dry, but it gives you just a little bit more hang time if you want to go ahead and use some embossing powder or something like that on it. Now, all of these inks and sprays, they're all Distress, and they all have the ability to be lifted off. Now, you can see me doing this here. I'm using a wet wipe and I'm just using a stencil. This is the All in Create stencil number 167, and I bought that earlier this year, I think, and it's a great stencil. It's just different, and I love different. Now, this is the TCW Light and Fluffy Modeling Paste, and it is heaven. I love it. Now, because I'm putting that modeling paste over the top of the Distress oxides, as it dries, it's going to draw the color up. So it's not going to stay white. It's going to take on the colors that I've put over the top of it. Now, if I had to sit and try and mix the colors in the modeling paste and then try and put it through, I would never get that sort of look. But by putting the water soluble product underneath and it draws it up, I love that look. Some bits stay white because they're over white bits. Some bits where I removed some of the oxide first with the wet wipe, it hasn't gone as dark. I love the look. It turned out really good. I love that. Now, this is the Distress oxide in Ground Espresso, and I'm just getting some shape, just different shapes. I didn't want a solid color. I wanted it to be reminiscent of what's in the background, but I wanted to create a double photo mat on my photo because I'm only using a 3x4 photo, and it's the cheekiest little photo. And, you know, I mean, we all have photos like this, right? You know, where we've just caught them in the act of doing something, or, you know, they're just being cheeky and laughing or whatever they're doing, and it's just funny. And she's our little firecracker. This kid, she's going to change the world. She really will. We believe in this girl so much. She is amazing. She is super smart at school. She dedicates herself. She's the one that has just done AFL for the first season. She did really well. She pushed herself out of her comfort zone. And yeah, you know, she does really well. We're super proud of Ange. She's amazing. Now, I just went around the outside edges purely because I could see some white and it was throwing me off. I went around the edges with some lumberjack plaid. Then I wanted to cool down. I don't know if that's the right term, but I wanted to get a little bit of the lumberjack plaid through the center. And the only real way I was going to do that, because I don't actually have it in a spray, so I decided I'll just put some through the stencil and then I'll go around. This is the Dylusions large coins stencil, and it just allows me to add, it's not in your face, it just adds an extra layer to what you're seeing. And it's kind of tone on tone because they're all in the red family. Some of the circles are, you know, in the burnt orange category, but this one's a bit cooler, so you're able to see what it's doing, and it's I just love it. I love how this turned out. I hope you guys are sticking with me because very shortly, we're nearly there, but this is where I decided I would come in with some splatters, and this is where I decided to bring in my Vintage Photo Oxide Spray, just to get some extra texture through the middle. Now, this is my homemade mica spray. This is the gold one that I make up the gold one pretty much all the time, and I've always got it sitting there. This one, if you're after the recipe for this, it is super simple to make. Like, I mean 3 ingredients, simple. And it costs you pennies to make it, and it just goes and goes and goes forever. Once I spray that down, unlike other mica sprays, that gold doesn't come off. I can rub my hand over that and all day long and it doesn't come off. So if you're after that, in the link below, you will find that I have got a link to my Facebook group and to the Instagram and all that sort of stuff. But in the Facebook group, if you jump on over there, at the top of the Facebook group, you will see a pinned recipe for both the mica spray that I make, which is what you just saw then, and I also make it into, I call it a paint. It's kind of like, you know, the brands of watercolors that you can get that you just add some water to and it sort of rejuvenates it and you can use it. Well, it's the same as that. It does the same thing. So FYI, if you want to make some cheaper supplies, because, you know, money's tight, I'm surprised we're not in a recession, but you know, if interest rates keep going up, let's be honest, our hobby is not the cheapest one on the planet. So where possible, we try and save money when we can. This is another way of saving money. This is my greaseproof paper and wax paper, I should call it. And I just pulled out my compass, drew a circle to go around my photo where I would roughly like my letters to sit. And now I apologize for the auditioning, but I don't create these layouts in advance and then go back and recreate them for you. I literally create them as I'm going, as I'm recording. I'm making the mistakes. I'm doing it all right in front of you. So I did audition these to pop on here. Apologies if it's looking a little bit, it's trying to keep up with me here. Now, these are the, what were they? These were the, did I write it down? I didn't write it down. I will have it in the link below. What I've done, and you saw me there before with my plastic container, I've mentioned this a couple of times now. I've created where I've sat down and I've die cut a heap of letters and put them into alphabet sections in these plastic containers. And I have now used those letters a couple of times, or 2 or 3 times, which is probably more than I've used them ever, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, so I'm loving how that organization and that just being prepared, it's allowing me to create more layouts quicker, and it's allowing me to still have my nice long titles that I love so much. And this is my layout, guys. I'm just about there. I've just got a couple more bits and pieces to pop on there. But can you see how this look at my paper. I love looking at, I know it sounds crazy. I don't know what I would ever do with it, but I always look at all the crazy colors that pop up on my paper towel and I think, oh, I should keep that. I used to do junk journaling, but I don't do it anymore. But yeah. So I decided to run around. I know I went around it with the lumberjack plaid, but I think it needed the brown to tie in with the vintage photo splats and stuff. So here it is, guys. Let me know below. Let me know in the comments, do you think it works or does it not work? Do you think it's too far? Do you think it's just right? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Subscribing is free. So is commenting. So is liking. All that really does for my channel, which is massive, is 1, I get to communicate with you guys, which I absolutely love doing. But 2, it allows my channel to get noticed, which equates to more views, and then I can bring you more content. Thanks for watching, guys. Chat to you soon. Bye for now.